guys. Happy Wednesday? It's
Now,
Wednesday.
come along with
It
Callie
is
and
Wednesday,
Cozy.
March
Get
22nd
tangled
as
up
we
in Disney.
record this. And
choice.
as you all are listening to this,
Here
happy
comes the
whatever
smolder.
day it is that you happen to be listening. We have another fun one for you today. We have a special guest hanging out with us. Cozy, would you like to introduce our special guest?
Yes. Well, online, he goes by Life with Panda. Panda, do you want to introduce yourself? What you're doing now, all the things?
Of course. So, hi, everyone. I'm Life with Panda. In a former life, I was known as Matt, also a previous cast member of Disney World. So super excited to be hopping on this podcast. I'm a huge Disney fan. My wife and I, obsessed. Beauty and the Beast, favorite movie. Our whole wedding was themed after it. So as you could tell, for sure, a huge Disney fan and excited to be a part of the podcast.
Oh,
We're so excited to have you here.
I need to see pictures of the wedding now.
Yeah, 100%. You got it.
Excellent.
So we thought it'd be really fun to have Panda on to talk a little bit about Disney love and cast life. Panda was you were full-time cast member, correct?
Yeah. So I worked at Disney's Vero Beach Resort for most of my time with the company. I started as a part-time lifeguard and quickly grew from there. Within 6 months, I was a full-time employee as well as a coordinator in the rec department. And from that position, I did so many different things, from a traditions assistant to training, to front desk, a little bit of housekeeping. Basically anything within a hotel you could think of, I did it.
All of
That
it.
hotel life. That's awesome. How'd you like working at Vero Beach? It's gorgeous.
Oh, loved it. I still think about the resort often. I actually just got back from Florida this past weekend. I was celebrating a buddy's 30th birthday. He still works at the resort as well. And so I went to go visit him, but had to stop by and take a look at the hotel. Beautiful as ever. And it's going on, I believe, like 25 years open, which is wild to think about for a beach resort. Because if you grow up on the beach, you know it's tough to keep a hotel in pristine condition and running.
Yeah, they do a fantastic job. Especially being where it is. Like, a lot of people aren't gonna really think about like being part of a Disney resort there.
Yeah.
They do a great job with the upkeep, and it looks gorgeous.
So then, did you get into that? How did you get into that? Like, how did you get to working there?
So, kind of a funny story, right? I used to work for Publix supermarkets. So, if you're familiar with Florida, you know Publix is like the premier grocery store. As a Floridian, like it's kind of like the
Publix
place
is
you go to.
everything.
Exactly. You get the pub subs, chicken tenders are great, buy one get one deals. I mean, so many things that made Publix phenomenal. And I was very big on like being part of a culture when I joined the workforce at a young age that made sense and was something I believed in. And so that's why I worked at Publix for quite a bit. And I had gotten to the point of management, and then decided to leave. Had a breakup with somebody else that had worked in that ecosystem, and so the best way to separate myself from it, decided to completely move away from it. And boy, was that the best thing I ever did, because not a month later, I ended up working at Disney's Vero Beach Resort, starting off as a part-time lifeguard. And on day one of me working, met my now wife, the love of my life. So
That's
we can definitely get into that as well.
What a cool
It's like
story.
a fairy tale.
Yeah. Did you get married at Disney?
So, little fun fact. So we got engaged at Disney about a little over a year after we started dating. I took her to Magic Kingdom. I actually emailed the then COO, Tom Staggs, and got access to Cinderella's castle suite in Magic Kingdom, as well as prepared a huge scavenger hunt around Magic Kingdom where friends and family were placed strategically, and she had to go to each one to get a clue to go to the next one until it led to the front of the castle where I asked her to marry me. with a ring and also a key to the castle, so then I could then take her up to the suite. We didn't get to stay in it, but I got to take her up there so she could experience it.
Y'all, I have heard this story before, and it's better every time. It's still amazing. I
Take
love
notes, men.
Yes.
If your girlfriend loves Disney, that's perfect.
I would be sobbing.
Yeah, you're just sobbing just listening to the story.
That was me.
Well, and we have it all in video too, so I'll definitely share that with you guys afterwards.
Yes.
So it was funny because she had no clue. Basically, what had happened was for Christmas that year, and we got engaged in May. So of Christmas of that year, I gave her at the time was cool. It was a coupon book. So things that she could redeem, right?
Yeah.
So like a back massage. We go to Disneyland every year. So there was a Disneyland coupon in there for November. And there were some other things. And then on May 20th, because I had to pick a specific date to get some of this stuff done, there was a scavenger hunt. And that's all she knew. Up until the week before, she thought I was going with her. She thought I was going to be there. But I had gotten work colleagues to convince her that I had a job interview. And last minute, I couldn't go. So I had to be there for the job interview. And so she left without me. And then I went up with a friend of mine and my mom, got changed, did a bunch of stuff, and then watched the plan kind of unfold. It was really, really cool. And definitely a highlight moment for me. And it was a lot of work. Like, we had been together at that point a little over a year, but it took about 3 to 4 months to plan.
Oh my God.
Shoot.
So it was definitely interesting. I emailed everybody, right? So I emailed the CEO, which was Bob Iger at the time, the COO, Tom Staggs, who was the one that replied and then connected me with the people that ended up taking care of everything. And then, I emailed a bunch of other people too, but they didn't respond. So I appreciate Tom Staggs, who is no longer with the company, responding, because without him, I wouldn't have been able to do it.
That's so cool. I feel like now
Emailed
we're going to have
Bobby
to have
Iger.
your wife on
Yeah.
Yes.
to then chat because she worked there too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, literally, she'd probably be down. Any chance that she could talk about Disney, she'll take it.
We love
I
that.
understand completely.
Callie, Disney.
100%. Yep. That's me. So I was going to ask, I didn't realize that you were at Vero Beach. So I guess you didn't have, like, in your downtime, did you spend any time going to the parks or anything? Because I know that's always a big perk of cast member is that park access.
Yeah. No, it was still important to us. I was only about an hour and 20 minutes away.
Oh,
Hour
yeah.
20, hour 40, depending on traffic. So definitely made my way up there. When I first started, I started in the month of October, and they told me that I had the 16 passes for the year, right? When I started. And I'm like, there's no way I get to use this. Okay, well, let me challenge myself to try to use this. And so sure enough, I went to the park 13 times out of the 16 times between October, like taking guests in, not just me going, but taking guests in from October to January 1st. I went 13 times with people trying to max out the pass. I didn't quite get there, but I got close.
That was close.
Mm-hmm.
That's
wicked.
crazy.
Yeah, so needless to say, we definitely love the parks.
So what was your favorite job? Like you said you did multiple different things.
Yeah.
What do you think your favorite would be and why?
So I would say it's probably a pretty close race between being a traditions assistant and a friend of Goofy. So obviously, when you work at the parks, you know that, or parks resorts, you know that when someone says they're a friend of, that means they are said character. And so for me, getting to go through that training and experience that, and getting to go to the character warehouse and see some of the characters who have never been in the park and were being developed at the time was a super cool experience. So that's something I wouldn't trade for the world. And I only did that like once a week, maybe. And so that, and then of course, traditions assistant, which sparked a lot of the progression I had in my career outside of Disney. So I definitely owe a lot to that. And the experience of being a traditions assistant is so incredibly rewarding. Only about 60 cast members every year get chosen to be able to do that. I don't know exactly how it works nowadays, but that's how it was at the time. So for me to get chosen when I'm at a resort property away from all the main parks and everything was
Ugh.
a huge honor. It was really cool being able to teach classes of like 90 to 100 new cast members about the heritage of the company, and taking them through tours through the parks, showing them the five keys, which now I've heard is expanded from five keys, but I'm not there anymore. I can't keep track of all that.
It's
Jeez.
crazy. So, traditions, for those of you who don't know, is basically like your first taste of Disney magic as a cast member after you do your interview. So, that's like the first thing that you get to do
Oh,
is
I
go
didn't know
in and
that.
have this class. So, I would love to hear more about, because like I remember how I felt going and sitting down in a traditions, but I can't imagine getting to see everybody and teach aspects of that. So, like, what was your favorite part of doing that?
That's a good question. So, uh, to give some context, when you become a traditions assistant, there's a standard that you have to hit because the impact of being a traditions assistant is massive. You're inspiring the cast members in front of you to go out and work hard and create those magical moments for people across every type of business, whether it's Imagineering, merchandise, parks, resorts, it doesn't matter. Whatever position they were holding, you were there at the forefront of their career to inspire them to do big things with Disney. And so the stories you were telling had to be told the right way. The impacts that are shown through the stories have to be not only impactful to you, but impactful to the people in front of you. They have to really feel that you are emotionally invested in what you're talking about. So traditions is basically that in a nutshell. So you go into this classroom with all these new cast members and you teach them about the core values and you watch them get inspired by what you have to say. Now, I'll be honest, 100% of the people walking in that classroom are not going to be inspired, right? Working for Disney is an incredible opportunity for many reasons, whether it's the benefits or the salary in a lot of positions is very, very good for Florida. So there are a lot of reasons for people to be there. But your job as a traditions assistant is to identify and teach these core values in a way that inspires as many people as you can in front of you to go out and do something and make impacts in people's lives that are spending thousands and thousands of dollars to visit these parks and resorts each and every year.
I love
That's
it.
so cool. I also didn't know what a friend of Goofy was until you explained it. So
You're
that's really
welcome.
cool.
Yeah, so I mean, look, you'll hear it in the parks too. Now that you've like heard it here, if you pay close attention to when cast members are communicating, especially character attendants, you'll hear that verbiage for sure.
Yeah, now that's all I'm going to be listening for.
Hmm.
Oh, I know what that
You
means.
you hear things a lot more once you're like in the know.
Yeah.
You're just be walking through and you're like, "Oh,
Oh,
okay."
okay. I see you.
So you talked a little bit about magical moments,
Hmm.
and sorry, what I loved so much about working there, during my internship, I did food and beverage in Hollywood Studios on Sunset Boulevard, and it, it wasn't it's not what everybody wants, right? We're not doing attractions, it's not character attendance, it's not something where you're really upfront with guests and like the moments they want to be in. You're in a really hectic moment of getting food and making sure that they stay happy, and so
Yeah.
it's difficult, but my favorite part of it was you still get to have that guest interaction and give those magical moments, which giving as many magical moments as you can was just my favorite part of getting to have that interaction. What is one magical moment that you were able to do that stuck with you?
Ooh.
So I have quite a few because that was probably my favorite thing about the job. And it was actually part of the reason I left. And we can get into that a little bit more after this. But so basically, for me, uh, like even before I was a traditions assistant, making an impact was super important. And the best way to make an impact in a guest life is through these magical moments. And so we had a Make a Wish kid come stay with us. Unfortunately, she didn't have the energy to be able to go to the parks and meet the princesses and interact with them. So what I did on my free time is I went up with another cast member and I went to every single princess, cut lines, connected with people in the parks, and got special video messages from every single one of them. Put it into a video. I'm getting emotional too.
I'm gonna cry.
I don't
And
cry.
and put it into a special video for her to have in her final moments of life.
Wow. I don't get emotional, and I'm like,
Hey, there's no coming back from that one.
that's incredible. And
That's
that's
really
like,
cool.
that's something you'll never like. You'll never forget that.
No, and I was it was a pretty big moment for the hotel too. They had Disney as a company created an award for me to take because of that moment. And I still have it somewhere, but it's like for me it was more important obviously to create that. And I still have the video and super thankful to all the people that made that possible because it wasn't just me. Like while I had an idea, it took a lot of people behind the scenes to make those things happen. So it was really cool to be able to do that. And that's just one of those. Again, the perks of being a cast member is way more than just being able to get into the parks and get to interact and do cool stuff with the company. It is also the impact you get to make on people's lives.
That's always one of my favorite things is to hear stories of families. Sorry, I'm still emotional. Whew. Of families
That was
too.
heavy, man.
that went so long ago and they still remember those cast members that helped them to have those moments. There's a TikTok I came across the other day where she does a lot of Disney content on TikTok. She worked in merchandising in I think it was Epcot, and there was a particular I think the Dooney and Burke purse that had released, and she got to be a part of helping somebody get one of those purses because people were like returning them. Like I think scalpers, people who bought too many, like they had to return them, some weird situation. But she was able to connect with somebody who really wanted one and was able to sell it to them. And she's like, this happened years ago. She walked into one of the restaurants in Epcot, and this family stopped her and was like, "Did you used to work here? Like at the store down there?" And she goes, "Yeah." And they're like, "I have something for you." And they pulled out like a key, and they're like, "We want to give you this key because you were the key to our happiness on that vacation, and we
Wow.
remember you." And I was like, it
That's
is insane the little things that you got to do as a cast member that had such a big impact on these families. And to your point, going to the parks was awesome.
Yeah.
Great perk getting to be there. The perk of getting to make those happy memories for families far outruns any of the other perks you get at Disney. Honestly, it was such an amazing experience.
Yeah, and magical moments like that aren't always necessarily as in depth too. It's like I remember there was one, and we used this as a training example for the hotel for a while. And there was a young boy. He was walking out the front of the hotel, and his flip flop ripped. The front of it ripped, and he was like, "No, like these are my favorite flip flops." And I noticed that they were Disney flip flops that we had in the merchandise store. So I acted it out, right? I ran over there. I was like, no, like devastated with him. I was like, I took the shoe, I lifted it up. I was like, wait. And I ran into the merchandise store, ripped the tags off that one, and brought him a new pair of shoes, right? And I went through the normal process of doing that after the fact, but just in that moment, acted as quickly as possible to kind of make that more special in that exact moment for the kid, because a lot of times Disney, as well as other companies, get in their way when they want to do good things. And so, using that as a training tool, we were able to see other cast members create similar moments, um, and still not abuse that system to where they could make something as easy as replacing a pair of sandals for someone in a moment where, you know what, you didn't otherwise have to.
That's so cool. And I was gonna ask, do they then in the training teach you to act in the moment or do those kind of things?
They don't necessarily tell you to do that. um, it just has to be you, if that makes sense. I think a lot of people will do a lot of good things, and you can make magical moments whether you're super enthusiastic or you could even be a pretty monotone person and still be able to make a moment for someone. But I, it all depends on you being you. And Disney does a really good job of hiring people that are willing to make those moments and willing to go above and beyond to make that special for an individual. So props to them. Props to the HR team and the hiring team because they seem to get the right people most of the time.
On a lighter note, what's your favorite ride at Disney?
Ooh, good one.
Ooh, um, that is a good one. I would have to say Space Mountain. And the only reason I say that is because when I was a kid, that's all I ever wanted to do, but I wasn't tall enough when I was young. So as soon as I was tall enough, every time I'd go, it was the first and last ride I did every time I went to the parks when I was a teenager.
That's
I
a
love it.
that's a good one. Have you been on Hyperspace Mountain?
Yes, in Disneyland.
Excellent.
Which version do you prefer, regular or hyperspace?
Probably regular just because it's a little bit more special to me, but hyperspace was pretty cool. And it's cool that it was different. Like being able to go, like if you don't know at home and you haven't been to both parks in Disney World and Disneyland, they're both different slightly. So one in Disney World, it is a single row seat and it sets four back. In Disneyland, it is two
Two.
seats
Yeah.
and then they back up four. So um it works a little bit differently as a whole, the ride does. And so it's way more intense in Disney World because it is like it feels like it's a lighter load and that cart will just move around.
It
Yeah.
flies.
Yeah, but in Disneyland it's also really cool because you have like there was the Star Wars overlays and some of the other cool stuff they do through the holidays. Um and so both have a very special place. But Disney World is a machine for sure.
Jeez. I have a question. Do you have a favorite Disney movie?
Beauty and the Beast for sure.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So basically, part of the engagement was based on Beauty and the Beast, and it was kind of part of the reason we kicked it off in our relationship is because we both just thoroughly enjoyed this movie over any Disney movie. So
Mm,
it would definitely be Beauty and the Beast.
I love that. That's awesome.
You showed us before your tattoos. Can we talk about those?
Yeah, of course. So for the video viewers, you can see I have a Steamboat Willie Mickey tattoo, and then I have an Oswald the Lucky Rabbit tattoo. And so when I first started at Disney, I was not, I don't want to say that I wasn't a Disney fan, but I was not like this, like, oh, I knew I wanted to be a part of the Disney company forever. And so I started working there, fell in love with the culture, fell in love with the people, and fell in love with the childhood memories of Disney. And so as I'm growing, I was quickly falling in love with one cartoon in particular, and that, of course, is the original Steamboat Willie cartoon. If you don't know, it's basically Mickey meeting Minnie, also having an interaction with Pete. Like it's just this really cool cartoon that you should go watch. But for me, it was super cool because it was the original. It was like the defining moment of when Disney really took off as Disney and separated itself from Oswald, which ironically I ended up getting tattooed later. So I wanted that tattooed on me, and I was like, okay, how do I do this? Do I put it like in a small place? And so I go to this tattoo artist who's local and wasn't necessarily the best tattoo artist, but when you're on a Disney budget as a full time
You
activities
gotta make
host,
what
lifeguard,
works
recreation, yeah,
works.
you got to make something work. So I went in with like $100, and I was like, "Can you make a small Steamboat Willie tattoo on my arm?" Well, uh, he prints out this overlay, and as you can see, if you are watching from video version, it's much bigger than a small tattoo. and he goes, "This is as small as I could make it." And I was like, "That makes no sense." But but he's like, "Well, you have to come another day if you want it smaller." Basically, is what he said to me. So I was like, "You know what? Why not?" So I did it. And then quickly after, it didn't take more than like a month and a half, I came back and got Oswald tattooed on my other arm. Uh, because of course Oswald, if you don't know, was the first character Walt Disney ever created and had success with. So, kind of paying tribute to both of the OGs that put Disney on the map and where it was.
I love it. Steamboat Willie is one of my favorites. If I had to
Yeah.
pick two Mickeys, it's Steamboat Willie and then Sorcerer Mickey from Fantasia has
Oh,
been
of
like
course.
a lifelong favorite of mine. So that's awesome.
That's
Yeah,
so
great.
cool.
Listen, great choices. Look, Mickey, Mickey as a character has evolved so many times. Um, the more recent cartoons, I'm not as much of a fan of the animations,
I'm
but
not either.
especially Goofy, like they did my guy dirty. He kind of he kind of looks a little strung out. But as far as like the evolution of these characters, it's cool. It's always cool to see that they have like these core fundamentals that don't change about them, even if the animation changes or the story plot changes, whatever the case may be. It's really cool to see the characters evolve in that way, and it hasn't really changed since the 20s when Mickey was first put to paper.
Yeah.
So cool. Now, you then, since you had to teach all of these cast members, you had to teach them a lot of facts and stuff, I'm assuming. So
Yeah.
do you think like you do really well in like a Disney quiz?
Oh yeah.
We did
I've
one
got
with
a
our
question for you right here. Hold on, I'll pull one up. It's okay.
we did one with our husbands. And it went. It was good.
You
But
know,
I'm like,
they
dang,
knew more than I thought that they would know.
that's true.
I'm confident Panda would know more.
Oh, yes. Very confident he would know more. Okay.
I hope. Let's see. Hold on.
Yep. All right. It's like a 239 question quiz. I'm not doing all 239 questions.
I was about to say I'm ready, locked in for the night. Here we go.
Here we go. All right, 2 more hours. So it says they're in from easiest to hardest. So let's scroll to the very bottom and see what that looks like.
Yes.
Um,
Wait, do you know what Mickey Mouse's first words were?
I don't.
I didn't either until
there we go.
well, it was on that quiz we asked the guys. Hot dog.
Hot dog, which makes sense.
Yeah,
It does, but it's kind of weird that was his first words.
it is.
Like, why those?
All right.
Yeah, you definitely wonder.
Performed by Huey Lewis, Once Upon a Time in New York City is the opening song of what 1988 Disney animated film that's based on a Charles Dickens novel?
What?
So listen, I may have oversold how good I'd be at Disney trivia here.
I love this movie, and I wouldn't have known this.
I have no idea what
So
we're talking
animated, 1988.
Yep. Also didn't know it was made in 88. I thought it was a 90s movie.
Ooh, okay, that could be a hint of some sort. Well, I know it's not. Let's see.
That's a tricky question. I have no.
I'm trying to think of what movies were made in the 80s, because if you like, I don't know. I'm gonna have to tap.
Oliver and Company.
Really?
I didn't think that was. I guess it's late 80s, but I thought it was like a mid 90s to late 90s at least.
I've never even seen that movie.
10 years off. It's very good.
I was about to say there are great Disney movies that got buried over the years. That's one of them. In Atlantis.
I have seen Atlantis.
Atlantis is so good.
Once.
It is phenomenal, and the fact that it did as poorly as it did is a crime in itself.
Okay, what are your thoughts on Hunchback of Notre Dame?
Callie.
What are my thoughts?
Of course.
Yeah. How do you feel about it as a movie?
I think it's a great movie, but we've watched it more times than most. My wife's mother used to work at Disney as well, and she was Esmeralda, a friend of Esmeralda.
All right, I can't fault
parades.
you.
So So it was kind of like something that when I did get back into Disney and obviously met my now wife, we spent a lot of time admiring because of her role in that parade.
All right, I can't fault you on that one. It's fine.
Why do you
That's
not
so
like
cool.
No,
Hunchback?
if I had to pick
She hates it.
my least favorite Disney movie like of all time, that's like a standard, it's Hunchback of Notre Dame.
I like it. It's
The
a little
music,
dark, but
It is dark, yeah.
cozy, a little dark.
the music is good.
We've talked about this. Tried to drown a baby.
Mhm.
Trying to.
It's dark.
You're gonna have this woman, or she's gonna burn in hell instead. Like there's like
music's
Disney
good.
dark, and then there's Disney
They're
dark.
making a live action of that one.
Mhm.
So
That'll be good.
there's no. I had that as an update from earlier, and I skipped our update today, so you guys will get an update next week. The poster that they put out this weekend that had like Chris Evans, Josh Gad, Gal Gadot on it. It's a fan make. It's not a real poster.
It looks
So
really
no
good.
real casting has been confirmed. IMDb has it set for 2024 release, but I literally can't
There's no
find
way.
anything online about it. And if
So
they don't even
weird.
have casting for it, it's not coming out in 24.
No.
Well, I'll say this: Disney has struggled in recent years with release dates since COVID, for the most part. Like even, I mean, it's been every branch of Disney too, between Pixar, standard Disney movies, Marvel, Star Wars. All these things have struggled to hit specific release dates. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's been pushed back.
Yeah. We'll be lucky if it gets on that. What they announced out back through like 2026 or 2027, but I don't remember seeing very many live actions on that list. So
Yeah,
Which I
they
think
might push it in for the later years.
We need more new.
I do want more new.
yeah. I'm ready for it.
So you talked about, you mentioned leaving Disney. What led to you leaving Disney?
So, when I started with Disney, I had incredible managers. I had my rec manager was a woman by the name of Lindsay, who was incredibly inspiring to do good and held that like Disney magic to a high standard. And she still works there to this day. And then I had a front desk manager, and his name was Rich Tamayo. And if you recognize that name for anybody at home, or maybe have worked for the company, he was a Disney ambassador for quite some time. And so I was close with him when he or not close with him, but I interacted with him quite a bit when he was an ambassador before he came and worked at the hotel. So then when he came and worked at the resort, he was my direct report. And our relationship was very, very positive. And so we did tons of different things to help make magical moments a mainstream thing that any cast member could do. And that was like a big project that we took on. We created like a resort tour that had special magical moments along the way for people that participated. We created tons of different things that were all based in the front desk that like was separate from what recreation and other departments already did.
Mhm.
And then we took those and kind of used them as teachable moments to help inspire the cast members to do good. But towards the end of my career, he had left and joined the Baltimore Ravens, where he still works now. He is a like high executive for the Baltimore Ravens in the stadium and stuff.
Fancy.
So I can't fault him for leaving, to be honest. But we had another manager come in, who I won't name, because if you can imagine, if I'm not going to name them, it's probably not for good reason. Basically, this manager was like very much anti what I was. And so, and what I was, in my opinion, was the company culture, right? Again, a traditions assistant that understood this, somebody that was highly regarded. And I even had cast members before I left tell me that it unfortunately didn't line up with when I left, but that I was nominated for legacy awards and other things as I'm departing the company. And so basically, this person came in, and number one, they didn't like Rich Tamayo, who had worked there before. And so, unfortunately, I was the biggest Rich stan. So it didn't help when it was very blatantly obvious. And then I trained this person when they came in on
Oh,
everything that we had been
man.
doing, and of course, I talked highly of Rich, and so with a blend of things, it just seemed like, unfortunately, this manager was not going to help me continue my career at Disney. And unfortunately, because of that reason, I had to make the decision to leave the company. And I left the company with the intention to come back. And even my GM at the time, Paul, incredible dude, uh, he told me, he said, "Look, I've seen people in your position, and I wish I could go around it and help you. But what I can do is give you advice, and that advice is leave and come back." And so that's what I did. I ended up getting a job with Marriott as an assistant general manager. So I left, started doing that, and continued my hospitality and then into real estate career up until 2021 when I
Oh.
decided to leave that and now pursue gaming full time, where I get to travel the world and talk about Fortnite. So was definitely not what I originally built my career out to be, but definitely an interesting um, an interesting turn from what otherwise was a bittersweet end to my Disney career.
That's so cool though.
Sad to go, but I'm assuming no regrets, especially with what you're doing today.
No, yeah, I honestly love what I do. I now have like probably uh, top 3 dream jobs in the world. Uh, I genuinely can't complain. I get to play and talk about video games. I get to travel the world, and now uh, I can't exactly say what it is, but I have a big announcement coming very soon that it's like
Ooh.
adds on to just everything that I've been able to do within gaming. So while the opportunities recently have surfaced to potentially come back to Disney, I still continue to pursue gaming and what I'm doing now.
So
Awesome.
exciting.
Yeah.
Now,
So that's sorry.
overall,
Go
would
ahead,
you
Cozy.
say that your experiences and all of that with um, Disney were all pretty positive? Like working for the company, would you say they're a good place to work?
100%.
Yeah,
I would say my experiences were 95% positive, right? And that 5% more relied on, unfortunately, running into the wrong people
people.
that had power but just didn't have that same understanding of what Walt and Disney as a whole was all about. So it was definitely a crazy thing. And I mean, look, I look back at those times often, and I'm thankful for them. But my experience as a traditions assistant is part of the reason I can talk in front of a camera and do some of the stuff that I do now, as well as I do, or as well as I think I do. Um, and so I'm eternally grateful for those experiences early on, because a lot of people, they step into these positions in gaming where they want to be a commentator, but they don't have public speaking experience to any extent ahead of time. So because I had that experience, it gave me a leg up, and part of the reason I was able to climb so quickly in the commentary space when it came to Fortnite specifically. So I'm very, very thankful for my experience with Disney. I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I mean, some of my best memories in life come from Disney. My wife, of course. Then all the stuff I got to see behind the scenes, whether it was being able to walk the stage of Fantasia or Fantasmic, is probably a top 5 thing I've ever done. Um, Again, like I talked about before, my time with the character team, being able to go through and see characters that still to this day haven't touched the floor of a theme park, and then some of them coming later. Being able to, this is a fun fact, I was able to hold Captain America's shield.
Ah.
Um, but
Cool.
yeah, the one that is now used in California. Um, I know so much stuff about the character team that if I said, guaranteed I'm getting sued. But that is all I will say. But no,
Yeah,
it
keep
was,
that. We'll keep that for after.
yeah, of course. And so I super appreciate all the experiences that Disney gave me. And so while 5% of the time it wasn't the best environment to be in, the other 95% more than made up for it.
I love that.
Good. So we talked about it a little bit. But tell our audience a little bit more about what you do today and then where they can find you.
Absolutely. So now I am a Fortnite commentator. I'm on the main FNCS broadcast. So we cycle talent on and off. I was a part of Major One and may or may not be a part of other majors and stuff throughout the rest of the year. You'll just have to wait and see. But I get to do that. I fortunately get to work. I have a good relationship with PlayStation, and so I'll you might hear familiar voices in some of the videos and content coming out in the near future.
Ooh.
And also, I get to commentate over several different brands and work with some incredible people in the gaming scene. And the best way to find out what I'm doing and what's going on in my life, you got to follow me on Twitter because that's where I communicate everything. And that is Life W Panda on Twitter.
Perfect. And
Wicked.
then we'll have that in the description as well so that if y'all don't have a way to like write it down or something real quick, it'll be there for you to find Panda. Because we love Panda and we want y'all to check him out.
Thank
Mm-hmm.
you.
Indeed.
Thank you so much. We
No, it was a
love
pleasure.
having everybody on. It's been great. I mean, I don't count our husbands.
No.
You're our first real guest,
They
and to
don't
get
count.
to sit and talk Disney like this is so exciting.
So fun.
Likewise. Honestly, again, since I've transitioned out of Disney, I haven't been able to talk about it as much. So it's always good to be able to sit down and think about Disney as a whole and the incredible impact it's made on my life and so many others.
Wonderful.
Big facts.
Cozy, did you have anything to round out the night with? Because I
No, I think
don't
that
have anything tonight.
that
Oh,
was all
I
the
do have
things.
something tonight.
Oh, perfect.
March Madness. We still have our March Madness brackets going on, and we are
On Twitter.
down to 4 Disney and 4 Pixar movies. So we've got those are going to go up tonight. We've got Cars versus Monsters Inc.
Oh, it's easy.
Inside Out, yeah. Inside
Cars.
Out versus Toy Story, slightly harder. And for our Disneys, we have Lion King versus Tangled and Moana versus Little Mermaid. So some newer movies taking on the OGs. I'm really interested to see what y'all think about that. So definitely check out Twitter and vote in those polls, and we'll get that running up for next week. Thank you
Excellent.
guys. Thank you again, Panda, so much. We really appreciate
Yes,
you being
thank
here.
you.
Please check out Panda on Twitter so that you can follow and keep up with everything that he has going on there. And as always, thank you for hanging out with us tonight, and we hope that you stay tangled up in Disney with us. Goodbye.
Bye.